Well, good evening, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally, and I mean literally, does not work. Welcome to our new outdoor studio. You can probably hear some of the birds chirping away right now because it's beginning to feel like spring, even though they are calling for snow on Monday. But, you know, that's just the way it is when it's early springtime. Here at the Jobu Sports Report, if you've been a follower of mine for any length of time, we've always tried to try new things, and this of course is no exception to the rule. We're actually building our outdoor studio, and this I must thank you guys, because without the help that you guys have been able to give me between the super chats, the GoFundMe, and everything else, we've been able to start building this. And this is where we're going to start doing, and I'm going to be late today, but like a 6 o'clock Dallas Cowboys daily update. So that way you can kind of get a recap of everything that's happened throughout the day, in case, you know, you've got your daytime job and you can't sit there and hang on the cell phone or keeping up with all the news. Or like Simba, you know, you should be in class. Yeah, Simba, you know, you should be in class studying. I know you got great grades, but dude, make sure you study, make sure you get your grades, okay? You know, as much as I love you being here, your education comes first. So right now, the Dallas Cowboys, as we know, yesterday ended up restructuring Zach Martin, La'el Collins, and Tyron Smith's contract, basically giving the Dallas Cowboys, with the money that they rolled over after signing Dak Prescott, along with releasing Jamal Alawalu, and I probably mispronounced his name, but you guys know that I am a name butcher. Well, they end up having about $20 million to the cap. Now, technically, that doesn't actually kick in until the 17th, when all the contracts and all the moves that have already been made in the NFL become final. Now, we do know that the Dallas Cowboys have 4 picks in the top 100, and this is going to be crucial for this team if we have aspirations of making the postseason. And I'm not going to dare say anything about a Super Bowl like Michael Irvin did yesterday. It's funny now how it's kind of revisionist history here. You know, it's kind of funny how you get a motorcycle that definitely decides to photobomb you. It's kind of interesting how now it's revisionist history. Last week, we had all kinds of the talking heads and people I won't name, like Skip Bayless, saying that the Cowboys would be in the market for Russell Wilson. Now, we heard the Cowboys basically say, that's a joke, okay? We're not doing that. And in fact, now, Todd France, one who now seems to have rehabilitated his brand, now seems like everything is hunky-dory with the Dallas Cowboys, as it should be, because Todd France is not going anywhere. Guaranteed that a lot of players will be seeking out Todd France's services, because they'll look to say, I want what Dak got. So you're going to see a lot of Todd France. You're going to see a lot of big name players that are going to go to him. Well, Todd France, having a little bit of humor, of course, today, basically put it out there that I think the Dallas Cowboys are no longer in the Russell Wilson market right now. I just might think that that might be the case. Although, here's where conspiracy theorists here, or Dak haters, and yes, there are still Dak haters out there, will say, well, with that contract that the Cowboys just signed, you know, it would be a great trade for another team. You know, we only have to pay him $22.5 million this year. You know, a lot of teams like to trade for that one. Let's go get Russell. You know that's going to happen. You know some jackass is going to come through and try and do that. Well, okay, be that as it may. Well, here's an interesting piece where we're beginning to see different people who now, after the fact, say, this is a great move by the Dallas Cowboys. When last week, everybody was saying, oh, you can't do this. You're going to hamstring your team. Well, the interesting thing is right now you're seeing people following the Dallas Cowboys model, where they're restructuring and adding voidable years onto contracts. Tom Brady now has 4 years left to go on his deal. Now, you're thinking, my God, the guy will be 48 years old. Now, he did say he wants to play till he's 50. I doubt, and maybe I'm wrong, because I've been saying this every year, that, you know, that Tom Brady's going to play till he's 48. But what this does is these years that are added onto a contract, much like Dak Prescott's last 2 years that are added on there. Dak Prescott actually has a 6-year deal. which is 6 years in name only. Dak Prescott will not be on that same contract for 6 years. But what it is basically a way of saying, we've got 2 extra years that we can spread out that bonus money, that signing money on there so we can reduce the contract. We know that he's got $22.2 million hit this year. He has a $31 million hit next year. Basically the same thing we just paid last year on a franchise tag. So this is a very team-centric deal. Now, Tom Brady adds couple more years on this contract, it reduces his hit. Now, of course, a lot of people don't seem to understand what restructuring means. It does not mean that I am taking less money. It doesn't. It just converts some of your salary into guaranteed money. You're still getting the same amount of money, but it's all just accounting. It's really kind of hidden over here. It's kind of like an offshore account. So the government doesn't tax you on it. Oh, I don't have any money over here. I'm broke. And you got millions over here that aren't touchable. Well, that's kind of how the salary cap is working. So Tom Brady does that. Pat Mahomes, of course, with his long contract, already 1 year in restructures to give them some more cap relief. And I'm sure that Pat Mahomes is looking at it from the standpoint of, well, I need a team. So let's go ahead and restructure my contract. I'll be happy to take a little bit more of that money now, and you can kind of put it off on later as far as the cap goes. But here's an interesting article, and I'm still getting used to the new set here. From, I think it was Mike Tannenbaum. General manager thinks that the Dak Prescott deal is a great one. Mike Tannenbaum took some time to talk to Dak Prescott about this. There has been one or more notable weeks for the Dallas Cowboys in some time as they finally agree to terms on a brand new contract for Dak Prescott. All eyes shift to the future now, but obviously that includes bringing in more talent to help Prescott compete, something that many thought would be hard if the quarterback got a sizable deal. You trolls out there, you guys said if we sign Dak Prescott, we can't have that money to spend on free agents. Let him walk, and we'll just sign anybody. I'll take Andy Dalton. Out there, you know who you are. I'll take Andy Dalton because he'll be team friendly. This is one of the most common misperceptions about quarterback contracts in the NFL. But don't take our word for it. Former NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum took some time to talk about Dak Prescott's deal with us, plus the work that he's been doing on 33. Okay, fan of the $40 million. See, here's the thing. What people are looking at and focusing on is the $40 million average salary. That's what it is, average. That doesn't mean that it's $40 million this year. It doesn't mean it's $40 million next year. Or people are focusing on, man, he just walked out with $75 million. That basically is spread out over the lifetime of the contract. Yes, he got a big pile of money right now, but he's not getting that big pile later. People who hate Dak will never get it. Mike Tannenbaum says that he finds that Dak Prescott's deal to be a very impressive one for the player, and noted that while it is certainly more difficult to build a team with that variable in place, it's far from impossible. We did it. We made it through the Dak Prescott's negotiations. That's it. That's okay. I thought there was a little more to that. But here's the thing. We were looking at having about $20 million before we signed Dak Prescott. And here it is. We have Dak locked up for the next 4 years, and we have about $21 million. So you got your quarterback. You didn't trade for one. You didn't give up draft capital, like Deshaun Watson, who may be untradeable. That situation is just completely ugly because teams are now thinking, do I want to take that much draft capital, trade for Deshaun Watson, or do I stick, like, for example, the Jets, do I stick with the guy I have, or do I go ahead and just say, let me draft a guy and use those picks elsewhere? Because if you're the Jets, your cupboards are bare. You've let go great players from Demario Davis and Jamal Adams, as well as others, to get where you are now, rock bottom. You need to get players, and trading 3-1 for one guy is not going to do it. Your best bet is to really look at the draft or See if you can salvage Sam Darnold and say, okay, I'm going to get, 2 outstanding offensive linemen to help block for him and maybe a running back in the first round to say the offense will be better. I mean, honestly, you could take an average quarterback, and if he has good blocking and a running back, he'll be a decent quarterback. So you look at it from the standpoint, do I bring Russell Wilson over here, which he ain't going there with that the way it is, take 3 number ones and put him in with a garbage offensive line and no running back? Or do I look at it and say, I can keep Sam Darnold here, get me 2 first-round pick offensive linemen and a running back and try and do something like that over the next couple of years? I, for one, look at it and say, you're better off drafting some guys to put around at least Sam Darnold. Or just using 1 pick and drafting a quarterback and then using the rest of the picks. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what you have to look at. And the thing that's so crazy to me is how Cowboy fans are so apt to always say, let's trade that guy. Let's trade this guy. It's not fantasy football. I hate fantasy football for this reason. Everybody automatically thinks you can just trade a bum and get a great player. That's not how it works. It doesn't. But here's the final note that I'll have. And tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, I hope you tune in for our live stream. We'll be here. Me and Michael Anthony Fitness will be doing giveaways. We'll be giving away some more racks and stuff because you guys have helped for us to get all this together. And we have some more pieces that we're going to add to this. And maybe some bird away? I don't know. These damn birds. Shut up. One final note. The Cowboys have money to spend in free agency. There are a lot of big-name players that do have treads left on the tires. The question is, do the Cowboys have the will and the stomach to take some risks to try and get some of those players? To me, if you believe that this team, with Dak Prescott and bringing back Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith and the offensive line getting together, thinking that Zeke Elliott should be in better shape, well, if those are your beliefs, then you look at it as, let's push the chips in. Let's get a couple of players in free agency that'll help us. Not second-rate, real blue chippers. That being said, hope you guys enjoyed this Dallas Cowboy update. The first of hopefully a lot of them. Please leave your comments below, what you like, what you don't like about this, and we will definitely get back to you on your thoughts. And as always, I want to try another little tad bit here. I have to thank my man. We're trying to bring a little bit of funk to the show. Push it on.